And it is really kind of taking this full umbrella of what do you have to do to be a successful entrepreneur or successful online business owner. And it is stepping out of our comfort zone, doing things that we are uncomfortable with. It is aligning with our passions and our interests and really rooting into your purpose. Like, why are you doing this? And what is it that you're doing well? And how can you bring all of those things into alignment?
Welcome to Purposeful Podcasting. I'm Wendy.
And I'm Crystal. This podcast is meant to share how we and other entrepreneurs bring together purpose and passion to leverage profit in our businesses.
We are shining a light on adventure-loving, purpose-driven, action-minded, authentic, and rebellious entrepreneurs.
Just like us.
So join us as we talk about business and life and everything in between.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of Purposeful Podcasting. I am Crystal, and I am here with Wendy, and we are super excited to talk about Savour. So,
what the hell?
Yeah, what the hell is that? Right. Well, it is. What the hell is that? And if you will start to notice in a lot of our marketing materials and a lot of our stuff, the mission of Serendipitous Rebel is to help you savor your life. But like Wendy just said, what the hell is that? What does it mean? And where did that come from? And I kind of want to start there. And this is where I'm going to start peppering Wendy with questions, because Savour is comes from Wendy. Like, Wendy gets all the credit for Savour.
Well,
where did Savour come from?
So where did Savour come from? If we rewind to early 2020, when the world came crashing to an end, I had a really hard time, like so many of us. I realized a couple things. And at the time, here I am, a travel advisor who wants to create transformational experiences for primarily, other women. And what the heck can we do? And I had a really, really hard time. And I was starting to pivot to doing more coaching. And I became a certified life coach. And as I'm doing all of this stuff, I'm like, well, what happened? What do adventurous women do when they can't have adventure? I'm a travel advisor who can't travel. What happens here? And as I was going through this life coach certification and really diving into positive psychology, this whole concept of Savour just sort of developed. And it took, I remember my coach at the time was like, can you please hurry up with this? But it took a good 6 months to really come up with a system that I thought that it really addressed what we were feeling at the time, which was fear, uncertainty, isolation. And what the heck can we do with that? I realized that it really was speaking to those of us in the pandemic, but it also was talking to those of us who were heading towards or in empty nesting, or having changes in careers or relationships. It also was just for any of us who are just so sick and tired of not knowing what we're supposed to know, or the unknown. The focus shifted really towards, instead of, I guess you could say, the negative of the fear and the uncertainty and the isolation, it really was becoming more about achieving independence and confidence and joy. Yeah, it was kind of like, how do you create transformational travel sort of in the real world when you're not traveling?
Mm-hmm. Let's take everybody through. Savour is actually an acronym.
Yes.
And so let's talk about, what are the steps of Savour? S
is stepping out of your comfort zone. Really what that was. And actually that really came from when I looked back at some of my most incredible moments, the moments that really were so earth-shaking to me. It was doing things that were so beyond crazy for me.
Mhm.
And the one big one was when I was in Guam, because everyone can say that, was in Guam. My then boyfriend, now husband, we went hiking, and we went hiking down into a cave. And it's like, first of all, I have terrible knees. Second of all, I'm afraid of heights. Third of all, I'm just chicken shit. I'm standing at the top of this, and I'm looking at top of this cave, looking down, and there's a gorgeous pool of water at the bottom. I mean, it is the most beautiful blue I've ever seen in my life. I was like, okay, I need to do this.
Mhm.
And it was, and I mean, but when I got to the bottom, I was never so happy in my life that I had, I did this super crazy thing, and I just felt so free. So I was like, yeah, sometimes you just need to totally step out of your comfort zone and do crazy ass shit. So that would be the S.
I love it. So A of savor.
A, yeah, is aligning your passions and interests. And I find that this becomes more and more important. And actually it was really important during the pandemic, because it's like, okay, what do I do now? What do I do now? What do I do now? Do I just sit here and eat bonbons? Really gave me an opportunity to think about, yeah, what are my passions? What are my interests? And yeah, it was the love of learning. It was actually connecting with you, Crystal, and really figuring out, oh, it was kayaking, and trying to spend as much time on the water as I could, because you couldn't catch COVID if I'm not around anyone. But yeah, and it was just finding these things that, that light you up, whatever they are.
Love it. And V.
Venturing under your own power. The really funny part of this, in March of 2020, we had just returned to the US from being stationed overseas, and we didn't have a house yet. And so we were living in a hotel on yeah. Craig and I went biking, and all of a sudden there's this big sign that says you can't cross the runway, or no, incoming planes, because I was about to cross a runway on my bike. And something about that moment was like, hey, I'm crossing the runway under my own power. Yes. And it was just like, wait a second. This really is, there's a power to this. I'm not driving. I'm biking on my own. I'm doing this. That was really pretty cool. And yeah, we do cross the runways on this particular bit, in your car or whatever, or on a bike. But it was like venturing under your own power was just, that sort of solidified the fact that we have the ability for our own forward momentum. We're not by an airplane or a jet or Air Force One or whatever it is that's going to come by, because we control our own momentum. That sort of has stuck.
All right. What is the O in savor?
The O is opening ourselves to connecting and reconnecting. It's that, it's the connection, and I like to think the community. And again, one of the things that I found especially was true during the pandemic, we all went crazy with Zoom calls. This one, my mom, who had passed away, her family decided to get together, extended family, on a Zoom call. It was just so much fun going around and just catching up, figuring out where we all are, what we're doing. And I realized how important that connection was. And I have a pretty big backyard, and I started hosting get-togethers. And actually, even with people, some women who we had gotten together, we were in a mastermind together. We were getting together just to reconnect. And I just feel that this is such an incredibly important, and I know we both agree how incredibly important this particular pillar is for our sanity and our development and pretty much everything in between.
Yes. So now and I'm going to expand on a lot of these things, but I want to get through just what each of them are first. But yes. So yes, we're going to circle back to that one in particular, I think. But you in savor.
And that is unwind with self-care. This one, again, as females, as entrepreneurs, who generally does not come first? It's us.
Yeah.
And I know that, we were stuck at home, and for a long time, it was all of us. The kids were doing school at home. Husband was working from home. I was working from home. And it was a shit show. And I realized the importance of starting to incorporate self-care. And a Pilates a studio opened here during the pandemic. What a crazy time.
Mm-hmm.
But I started going and realized that I didn't care I had to wear a mask. I didn't care I had to stay in my space. The fact that I was doing something for myself just became even more important than in the past, and really brought to light the importance of our own self-care. And it's definitely stuck.
It's more than stuck. It's now multiplied to rowing and multiple Pilates. I think when I met Wendy, you guys, I think you were doing Pilates when you came back to the States like 5 days a week.
Oh yeah. I mean, there were I was actually at some point, I had some days where I did Pilates 6 times a day, 2 in the morning, 2 around lunch, and then 2 in the evening. I'm, in a couple of years, I'm at 900 and I don't know, I think 903 classes since which is just crazy, there's such a thing as excess. I understand. It's also a matter of just realizing I decided that my mind needed that. It was not only the mental stimulation, but the physical exhaustion to really get me through challenging times. So, and it worked. There's no question.
And I think that act of that hit a lot of these pillars, to be honest, beyond just the ritualizing self-care, but other things. But I digress.
Okay, R is ritualizing our gratitude and celebration. And I think of a lot of this as going through, it's almost like it's a daily journey,
Mm-hmm.
It can be a daily journey or a weekly journey or a vacation or however, you want to carve it up. But I am very big on transitions. And the fact that I feel very strongly that I have to end whatever it is with some level of gratitude, and also to celebrate. And I think about, it's like at the end of the day, I'm grateful for whatever I had during the day, and I'm celebrating by breaking bread with family, friends, whatever the situation is, or, at the end of the week. And I really do strive to go through this, and I think of them as pillars pillars, really on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'd like to say that I step out of my comfort zone every day, that I'm doing something that aligns with my passions and interests, that I'm moving, which I'm right now, I'm rowing about 5-6 days a week. So I know, and if I'm not rowing, I'm usually walking or something like that. So I'm moving under my own power. I work hard. Well, I start my day with a Voxer to use. So there's no question that I'm connecting. I try to make sure that the connection touch points are definitely with my family. And I try to make it more than just the superficial. I genuinely want to hear them and listen and know how they're feeling, what they're doing. And I've also been working hard to extend it, because it's easy to say, I just don't have time or, and I try to use the word I'm too busy, because it's a matter of prioritizing. Yeah. And then with self-care, I think self-care overlaps as you said, in a number of these areas. If I'm going to Pilates, or rowing, it's just as much my way of active meditation. But self-care is very important, and it's a priority, because as I go, it all starts for me with my overarching purpose is belonging and being there. Mm-hmm. So taking that into consideration, I have to take care of myself if I want to be there for others. And I am very grateful. I'm I'm a very lucky, blessed person, and I know this. I try to celebrate. Also, the interesting thing lately, I've also sort of added to this particular ritual about reflection as part of it, and also giving back. I could say charity or giving back in some way, because that ultimately makes me feel good.
When we talk about like all of this, when to bring it all full circle, so Wendy had this program that she did back starting in 2020, and it was part of her coaching.
There was actually a guide. It started
and there's a guide.
Guide.
And there's a guide. And what had kind of sparked a lot of this conversation in Serendipitous Rebel was we had talked about the guide and how do we incorporate the Savour guide into Serendipitous Rebel. And the epiphany we had when we were masterminding together in DC here recently was really everything we do in Serendipitous Rebel and with our coaching and our clients falls under the Savour method. I can even use myself as an example because Wendy was my coach years ago, and let's be honest, still is. But it was really kind of looking at this of, when you're an entrepreneur, I really do not believe there is a huge separation of your personal and your professional. It, especially when you work from home, so much of it bleeds into the other. And it is really kind of taking this full umbrella of what do you have to do to be a successful entrepreneur or successful online business owner. And it is stepping out of our comfort zone, doing things that we are uncomfortable with. It is aligning with our passions and our interests and really rooting into your purpose. Like, why are you doing this? And what is it that you're doing well? And how can you bring all of those things into alignment? Because, a lot of us have great ideas for businesses or are thrown ideas for businesses, but frankly, if it's not in alignment with your passions or your interests, it will end up falling flat in the water because something's got to give. And venturing under your own power was, so much of what we do as online business owners is doing it ourselves and doing things we never thought we would do. We have clients that have built websites, and I built a website, or, I never thought I could do that before being an online entrepreneur, running your own ads and doing all of these things that are very uncomfortable, but very empowering when you get them done for the very first time. When you think about the connections of community, so much of what we do are rooted in our masterminding experiences and bringing people together, really building in self-care into the routine of things. And Wendy's the first person to remind me of, like, what are you doing for yourself? And in Serendipitous Rebel, we do endurance challenges, or we do different things to try to remind people, because like Wendy said, the very last person, especially I think when you are a female online business owner, we are killing ourselves daily to take care of our families and to take care of our businesses and to take care of our clients. And we are not taking care of ourselves. And as a result, our businesses and our families are failing, or not failing, but they're struggling.
And they're suffering.
They're suffering.
No question.
They are suffering.
It's hard. And the thing is, what I'm hoping that we also do is give permission. Sometimes people need someone else to say, you have permission to do that. And it's outside the family. It is so important to take the time to care for yourself. Yeah. Absolutely. No question. And I know everyone uses you put the air mask or the mask on you first before you put it on someone else. Well, it's actually not a joke, and it applies to so many other levels, whether it's walking, taking a walk around the block, whether it's just having, I remember it's like, oh, I'll do that Target run by myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever it is that makes you happy and sparks some level of, I can breathe on my own, is so important. So important.
It's super important, especially when you have the added pressure of trying to bring a business or income with your family. And that is not a guaranteed paycheck day to day. And then, with the last one, the ritualizing celebration and gratitude, I don't think we give each other, or we give ourselves, I think we give each other a lot of credit, but I don't think we give ourselves enough credit for how far you've come, or what you've learned or what you have accomplished when you are an
Mm-hmm.
online business owner and a mom
Yes.
and a wife and
Yes.
doing all of these things all at once. It is a huge accomplishment to get your first client, to
Yes.
service that first client successfully, to run that first video on TikTok, or to write that post on Instagram and
Mhm.
publish it out in the world. That is a huge accomplishment that I think we take for granted because everybody makes it look so easy sometimes. But the amount of effort and energy and mental energy it takes to execute all the things that you do for your business, in addition to taking care of your clients, in addition to marketing your business and running the business side of your business, and being there for your family and showing up at all the school programs, because a lot of us went into being online business owners so we can be there for our families and be more available and get your kid to the doctor on time and all of the things. You are killing it every
Mhm.
single day. Like, I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, I want you to hear me when I say you are killing it. You are successful. You are just absolutely rocking it, but you have to celebrate it.
Exactly. Exactly. And, and that's why it's like I've wired myself to look at these things on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
People maybe thinking, oh my God, but what about on a weekly basis?
Mm-hmm.
What about thinking about how your week has gone? And even actually the Savor guide initially was set up as a 6-day guide to
Mm-hmm.
sort of flow through almost a week. And what if at the end of a week you're like, wow, look what I accomplished. Celebrate. Or even, you know what, that didn't work so well. Well, guess what? You figured that out really darn quickly, and were able to make a little pivot or a little adjustment or get over a little stumbling block. Guess what? You deserve kudos, absolute kudos for being able to do that. And actually even stop right now and think, what do I have to celebrate right now? And it could be something that, under normal circumstances, you never would have celebrated, but why not? Why not?
Yeah. And when we think about, like, what do we do with clients at Serendipitous Rebel? What do we do in our coaching? We encourage you to step out of your comfort zone, launch that podcast, get your voice out in the world,
Exactly.
do what you need to do, get together. We offer masterminding opportunities. Let's pull together as a community. How can you challenge each other and support each other? Because we are not meant to do any of this alone. You might be a solopreneur, but you are not meant to do this alone. We talk about square squads. We talk about how can you balance all of the hats that you wear. And you do this by walking through the steps of Savor so that you can savor your life. Because
Exactly.
it's not enough to just have a business that is successful. We want you to enjoy it and savor and enjoy it in the moment. And I think that, there's that saying, stop and smell the roses. Sometimes you have to kind of look around and take stock of where you're at and have an appreciation for how far you've come and what you have accomplished. And I think that it's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day things in life that we forget to savor it.
The beauty is it looks different for every person. There's no cookie cutter way. That we're all individuals. We're all different. We all have our own unique qualities and needs and desires. And I think the beauty of looking at these particular pillars is that you can fit your life into whatever it looks like. There's nothing that says that it has to be a certain way. The only thing that I know that I guess I pushed from the beginning in terms of my own thinking is that I like to think that under your own power is actually some physical movement. I have begun to realize how important some physical movement is so critical. And that could be, it could be standing up and marching in place. It could be putting on, what we love to do, putting on music and dancing like crazy to your favorite songs. It could be easily be walking around, walking around the block, walking your pet, as mine just ran outside to bark at something. How important it is. It doesn't have to be rowing, 10,000 meters or whatever, running a marathon or a half marathon, or was it a 10K you're running soon?
I'm going to do a 10K in January. And I really want to speak to this too, because, we did an endurance challenge recently, and I know we're going to do them quarterly. So if you're interested in knowing more about that, make sure you're on our newsletter so you know when we are running those again. We do endurance challenges, and it's not, and in our endurance challenges tend to be 21 days committed, 30 minutes of movement every single day for 21 days. We're business and marketing coaches. And so a lot of people are like, well, what the heck? Like, I promise you, we did not buy into some Beachbody program that we're trying to get you to sign up for. Those are great, but we're going to leave those to those other coaches. This is not about weight loss. It's not about weight loss. And it's not about even so much the physical health side of that, although it's a big component of it, there's a mental health component of it. We are business, marketing, and life coaches. And again, so much of what we look at Serendipitous Rebel is very holistic, because you can be very successful in business, but if your health and your mental health are failing, then what good is it? It's kind of like, making all this money in life, but then getting to be retirement age and not being able to move. And I can tell you that from personal experience, watching it happen. That's not an ideal place to be. So much of what we find in ourselves and what we really espouse to our clients and to our community is that it's why our masterminding experiences are you're never going to show up to a Serendipitous Rebel masterminding experience. There will never be a cold conference room with no windows and a PowerPoint presentation. That's some people's jam, and that's great. But so much of what we do is incorporating movement and activity into our masterminding experiences, because frankly, we think your best ideas, your most aha moments are when you are moving your body, whether it's just walking down the street in Costa Rica on our way to get tacos. We are on our way to go look around at different places, whether it's on the kayak, whether it is hiking a volcano with a group of people, and then going to sit in the hot springs, or it's on a cruise ship and we are walking to dinner, or walking the streets of Key West, looking for a crystal store, I think was the last one we were out venturing for. And I think it's mostly this idea that, I go back to that Legally Blonde, endorphins make you happy. Happy people don't kill their husbands. Well, and exercise gives you endorphins make you happy. Happy people don't burn down their businesses, and frankly, we need that. So for the last month, my daughter was in the hospital a lot, and so I was not moving, and I got to tell you, my body has never hurt so much. Every muscle is tight. And I looked at my husband last night. I said, it's because I have not been moving. I have not been moving, and I need to move my body, and I need to get back in the habit. So I've been trying to get back on my bike, and it's been rainy. As Wendy said, I've got a 10K that I'm running in January. And so I need to get out and start running again, lest I completely embarrass myself at this 10K race. But he wants to run a marathon. And so I need to get out and get moving, though, is the point. And my whole body will feel better because of it. And as a result, my business will go better. My creativity will flow more freely. And so when people say, why are these business and marketing coaches venturing into an endurance challenge? Well, this is why, because we want you to savor your life. It's not just enough for you to have this stellar marketing plan and this stellar business model and this great offer. You need to have components in your life that allow you to enjoy it.
And one of the things that I will a couple things I'll hang my hat on is that when I started a lot of this, I really thought of myself from the heart of a rebel and the mind of a certified, whether it's life coach, wellness coach, business coach. There's all, and I think that as a rebel side of you as well, this is all part of this. And there's something really important about, and also hanging our hat on the whole concepts of positive psychology, and which is really the scientific study of the good life. When you talk about savoring your life, really it's the good life for you. And there's movement is so important. It stretches and keeps your brain young. You drink your water, you move your body, you do these things. And it is as important, I think, to our businesses as, I hate to say it, the marketing, the finance, the administration, all of that, because this is what also helps get those creative. Where do you think best? I mean, you have no idea the ideas that pop out of me after I've been rowing.
Oh, I do know, because I get the Voxer stream of consciousness. Well, I love that you had a meme the other day that you shared that said, you need to drink your water and get your sunlight. You're basically a houseplant with complicated emotions.
Exactly. Well, exactly. And except the difference is the houseplant doesn't move unless we physically move them. So we'd have to add that piece to it as well.
Well, but it's what makes us better than a houseplant, right? Is that ability to move.
And it's each of us figuring out what are your passions and interests, what form of movement works for you. And there are different ways for everybody that fits into challenges. And I know a lot of people say, well, I just can't. And I will push back and say, I suffer from diabetes. I have neuropathy in my feet. And this is one of the reasons why I do what I do. Because in order to manage and keep diabetes in check, I have to be physically active. And if I could sit at home and say, I can't do this. And, maybe I will never row at the level of other people. I know I can't. And you know what? I could care less. It's what I do for myself and how it makes me feel. And I think that most of us can find ways of movement that works best for our lives.
Well, and the thing about that is that if you have that ability to exercise that in your movement area of your life, it makes it easier for you to exercise that same muscle that you need in your business life, because all of us need to do businesses on our terms. We need to do them under our own power, meaning what works best for us. I could tell you, and I tell clients this all the time. I could give you a marketing strategy that will shoot you to the moon. I can give you a list of do this, 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 this. If it is not in alignment with your passion and purposes, if it does not speak to your strengths, if it doesn't work with what kind of community you're trying to build for yourself or what it is that you want, you will never do it.
Yep.
You won't do it, and you won't be successful at it. And so it's knowing those things first about yourself that allows you to create, not just because I really do believe there's almost no wrong way to do business except the one that won't work for you. And because and the thing, and that sounds crazy, but there's really no wrong way to price your offer. You guys, there's like 1,000 different ways to price these things. Okay. There's really no wrong way to set up what kind of business you want to run or or how you want to create it. Maybe you want to do a membership. Maybe you want to sell a course. Maybe you want to do coaching. Maybe you want to be just a straight service provider and just build websites for people for a living. There's no wrong way to do that unless you're not doing it within what we would call the Savour model, which is aligning it with what works for you, really knowing what end game you want out of it. And because that's when the business or the idea fails. It really has nothing to do with the idea or the offer. You can kind of make anything these days stick. And I, people question that. And I would say, like, I know somebody who just sells knitting courses online and makes a killing. Could I do that? No. One, because God, if I tried to knit anything, I'd stab my eye out. And two, I have no idea what I'm doing and I don't like it. So I could never like create or remodel that. But this person, it works for them because she's just taking something that she's really, really good at and really, really passionate about, and putting it out into the world, and she's packaging it in such a way that she's supporting her life. And that's what we try to do with our clients, with ourselves, is really just try to take this idea of, what is it that we're really good at? What is it that you want out of life? And then what are the resources that we can pull from your life to make that happen, and so that you could be successful. And so that's savor your life.
It makes me so happy that you speak of it the way you do.
Well,
yes.
and I do want to share this. So Wendy has been working on this for years, and this is her baby. And when we were talking about the mission and the vision of Serendipitous Rebel, we've gone through a couple of iterations where we've talked about, what was it? We've talked about under your own power and creating the life you want. And, what the heck does that mean? And I got to say, when I said it's really about savoring your life, I was nervous to say that out loud because I didn't want you to think it was taking your baby, but really it is pulling things very full circle. And, we're Serendipitous Rebel because Wendy was Rebel on the go and I was the Serendipitous Traveler. Serendipity was about like finding the joy without looking for it. So it really was just kind of taking and encompassing this whole big picture of things and bringing it full circle. And so when we hit this savoring your life, it was like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
That's
it was. So it was just absolutely perfect because I mean, yeah, it's been like this baby that I want others to, I want to share the baby. It's like I want to share the baby Yoda with everyone. And many of you won't appreciate the humor in that if you don't follow me on social media. I share baby Yoda. So this is like my baby Yoda that I want to share with everybody.
It's true. She sends me a baby Yoda meme almost every day now, usually as it relates to coffee.
I think that this is also a perfect way to, it's just, I think about this, creating this, we all want to live a good life. We all want to, I think we all aspire to live the best, most joyful, happiest life that we can. And whatever that looks like at whatever time, I think that having some steps, some pillars to help in that process is, to me, very helpful. I think about like this summer, I was under the weather for a good bit of the summer and just feeling overall crappy. And then I quickly was like leaning into, well, where do things fit in terms of how I'm savoring my life, even when I don't feel well. It brought me, actually elevated my joy. It elevated my comfort. I hope everyone else gets to share in this too.
And you will, because we have so many exciting things coming now. What I will say, the best part of this, and this is just, I think this is true for all business owners as we go through this. And we've always said we want to model these things on this podcast. It's one thing to know what you do. It's another thing to be able to articulate it to someone else clearly. And I feel like we have been kind of going through all these different iterations of ourselves in the last 2 years or 18 months that we have been established as Serendipitous Rebel, and being able to say, okay, what is it that we do? We are business and marketing coaches that help you savor your life. And that we use, well, it rolls off the tongue so nicely, but also, when people ask, what does that mean? We are business and marketing coaches that encourage you to step out of your comfort zone, that help you align with your passions and purpose, that help you venture under your own power. So help guide you through these hard things that you're going to navigate in your business and how that's going to stumble in your life. How are we going to help you?
Well, we encourage the self-care.
The self-care. Oh, to connect with your community and your... to connect with community and collaborate with other people. My goodness. And then really help you recognize and then ritualize the gratitude and the celebration, how far you've come. And so that is what we do in a nutshell with our clients and with our community through our masterminding experiences. So much of everything that we do, you will hear a lot about Savour going forward, but we thought we needed to just explain exactly what that all means.
Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we'd love to know what you think. Until next time, we'll see you again next week. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a rating.
But only if you liked it. Otherwise, just keep it to yourself.
You can learn more about purposeful podcasting on our website at serendipitousrebel.com.
And if you have topics you'd like to hear about, be sure to submit them on our website or DM us on social media.